It's time to sit back and enjoy a heated struggle between two teams in the NFL's most competitive division, the AFC West. 2 weeks ago, the San Diego Chargers surprisingly humbled the Denver Broncos in pleasant Southern California. The rematch is now at hand, and the site is chilly Mile High Stadium. It's a good bet that the Chargers' Lionel James, arguably the most exciting and inarguably the smallest player in the league, would rather be in a warmer environment. But fate, of course, and the NFL schedule has brought him to Denver in November. Quarterback John Elway has gotten used to the weather, and his strong arm and emerging leadership abilities have the Broncos in first place. Elway still has his critics, but one thing remains irrefutable. Number 7 has won 75% of his starts as a pro. Denver is a team that has confounded the experts. They don't seem to be particularly strong in any one area, yet they win consistently. Despite Elway's many moments of inconsistency and a defense that is middle of the road, the Broncos are the team to catch in the tightly bunched AFC West. For the Broncos, a victory today would mean that they will remain atop the division. For the Chargers, a win would put them over the 500 mark for the first time in almost 2 months and vault them into true playoff contention in a topsy-turvy division where the bizarre has become the commonplace. In a game that would feature the bizarre and the thrilling, it's the Denver Broncos hosting the San Diego Chargers on the NFL Game of the Week. The game began with a rather emphatic display of running brilliance by the Chargers' Gary Anderson. Anderson, number 40, took the opening kickoff at his own 2-yard line and then slithered his way the length of the field for a 98-yard touchdown. Anderson has been a Charger for only a month since coming over from the USFL, but he is quickly establishing himself as one of the finest all-purpose backs in the NFL. His big play magic has helped San Diego return to playoff contention this season, and his scoring run back was the first kickoff return for a touchdown by a Charger since Keith Lincoln turned the trick in 1962 against the New York Titans. The play of the special teams on both sides would turn out to be the deciding factor in this divisional matchup. Anderson's return was soon followed by a field goal attempt by San Diego kicker Bob Thomas, but the ball never got beyond the line of scrimmage. It was blocked by Denver's Dennis Smith, number 49, and the Charger lead remains 7-0 midway through the first quarter. San Diego had a chance to extend that lead when they resorted to some offensive razzle-dazzle. But this time, for one of the few times in recent weeks, Gary Anderson did not come through. Anderson's drop turned out to be important, for on the next play, Fouts did something he usually doesn't do. He forced the ball into double coverage, and it was intercepted by Louis Wright, number 20. As the game progressed, you would hear much more from Wright. But for now, his theft gave the Broncos offense excellent field position at the San Diego 44-yard line. In 1985, both John Elway and the entire Denver offense have been inconsistent. Elway has become a big play quarterback, capable of unleashing long touchdown bombs at any moment, but he has yet to develop the consistency that produces sustained drives. Now, with the ball already in Charger territory, Elway effectively used the short pass to get Denver into the end zone. Elway's quick 4-yard strike to wide receiver Steve Watson, number 81, tied the game with a little more than 3 minutes left in the first period. The Broncos, as they have been all year, were opportunistic, taking advantage of an opponent's turnover to score points themselves. It was only the opening quarter, but the tone had already been set. Special teams play and opportunism would decide the outcome in this heated battle. Once again, in 1985, Dan Fouts has the Charger offense at the top of the NFL. He's the league's highest-rated quarterback, and nobody in pro football at any position is any tougher or any more competitive than San Diego's number 14. And now that Fouts has his favorite receiver back in tight end Kellen Winslow, number 80, the Chargers' passing game is even better. But strangely enough, Fouts appeared rattled by the Denver defense, and he threw his second interception of the opening quarter when Randy Robbins, number 48, picked off this sideline toss. Denver could not capitalize on Robbins' interception, and as the second quarter began, the Chargers again had the ball deep in Bronco territory. This time, the result was a score, a 6-yard pass from Fouts to number 26, Lionel James. This season, James has caught more passes than any back in the AFC. And his 11 catches in this game against Denver marked the second week in a row that the NFL's all-purpose yardage leader had 11 receptions. James' touchdown came with less than a minute gone by in the second quarter, and it gave San Diego a 14-7 advantage. With the Chargers nursing that 7-point cushion in the second quarter, their defense took charge. San Diego's defense has been the butt of many jokes in recent seasons, but in the last couple of weeks they have performed much better, and the Broncos got a first-hand look. Elway and the Broncos would not be able to put any more points on the board in the first half against San Diego's revamped, more aggressive defense. Trailing by 7, the Broncos needed their defense to clamp down as well and to stop Fouts and the rest of the high-powered San Diego offense from adding to that lead. Denver's defense has not been as consistent as it has in previous seasons, and when the Chargers got the ball back with 2 minutes remaining in the half, the men in orange could not prevent San Diego from methodically moving the ball down the field. The Chargers used their little man, the 5'6", 170-pound James, to maximum effect, throwing short but effective screens to number 26. And then sending him on quick bursts through the heart of Denver's defense. The Chargers marched into field goal range with less than a minute remaining, and then left it up to kicker Bob Thomas to add 3 points to their lead. But Thomas's 41-yard attempt hit the upright and fell no good. It was a fitting ending to a first half that did not turn out the way most expected. In a game featuring Elway and Fouts, offense surprisingly was not that much of a factor. Defense and special teams play were the main ingredients in a first half that ended with the Chargers ahead, but certainly not in command. The second half began as a mirror image of the first, but this time it was the Broncos taking it coast to coast, courtesy of number 82, Vance Johnson, the AFC's second leading kick returner. Unfortunately for Denver, Johnson's jaunt of 95-plus yards did not count like Gary Anderson's game opener. A holding penalty wiped out the splendid effort, and the residual effect was an initial Denver drive that also vanished under a barrage of charging Charger defenders. Neither team was able to score in the third period. Denver got closest on a 15-play drive that set up a field goal attempt after a pass into the end zone was nearly picked off. Even though Denver escaped near disaster with San Diego's missed opportunity, they failed to capitalize when kicker Rich Carlos missed a cozy 28-yard field goal try. Carlos had booted the game winner the previous Monday in a primetime victory over the 49ers, but was wide right this time. However, Rich would get another chance later on. Meanwhile, it was the Chargers' turn for some unpleasant experiences, courtesy of the Denver pass rush. Number 77, Carl Mecklenburg, gave Dan Fouts a little reminder to vote for him when Pro Bowl balloting gets underway next month. And just to make sure, Mecklenburg forced a key turnover on the very next play. Number 68, nose tackle Reuben Carter recovered the fumble, and the Broncos had the ball on the Chargers' 14. But the San Diego defense was able to postpone a Broncos score for at least a moment when Charger nose tackle Chuck Ian, number 78, dropped Elway in the backfield. But as the fourth quarter began, Denver tied the score with a quick burst from number 33, Gene Lang. Lang, Denver's short yardage connoisseur, was in a rather buoyant mood with his touchdown, but he'd be even more pleased a few moments later. For on the very next series, the Chargers lost the ball again deep in their own territory. Broncos' Andre Townsend recovered the bad snap, and Denver then returned to Mr. Lang, a fellow who clearly feels at home when he's near the end zone. Lang swept left end for 15 and then polished off the short drive with his second touchdown in less than a minute of play. After failing to gain a lead for the entire game, Denver now held a fourth quarter advantage. But this would be in jeopardy, as the bizarre events that always seem to happen in Mile High Stadium were about to unfold. Denver's defense was one of the league's finest units statistically in last year's championship season. But in 1985, their ranking is not nearly as high, and the forced turnovers haven't been occurring quite as often. Still, they've been good enough to keep the Broncos in first place, and they'd stay there as San Diego's league-leading offense could be held in check for one more quarter. But as Denver can attest, that is not the easiest thing to achieve. Fouts' passes to Lionel James and Charlie Joyner fueled a drive into Denver territory, as the Broncos couldn't stop a team they knew would be passing on nearly every down. The Broncos did finally stiffen inside their 20, So San Diego settled for a Bob Thomas field goal. The conversion drew the Chargers closer, but Thomas's role in the game would grow even larger just a few minutes later. Denver then showed it could mount a drive as efficient as San Diego's, with Elway balancing his passes to both runners and receivers, drawing closer for an apparent score. But just when Denver appeared ready to take it in, Charger linebacker Woodrow Lowe, number 51, sacked Elway, then intercepted an errant pass to end the Bronco threat. Denver then made another mistake a few minutes later. After the Charger defense held again, yet another special teams play tilted the course of the game. Number 20, rookie Wayne Davis blocked Chris Norman's punt, and the Chargers had the ball deep in Bronco country with about 2.5 minutes to play. From there, it didn't take long for San Diego to reclaim the lead, thanks to a slashing score from fullback Tim Spencer. The Chargers have been living dangerously all year long and seem to be surviving again this time against the Broncos. San Diego hadn't swept Denver in a season series in 3 years, but if they could hold on for another minute, they'd have that sweep and a spot in second place in the AFC West standings. But a minute was more than enough time for the maturing John Elway to guide his team downfield for the tying score. Vance Johnson's tightrope catch was ruled complete, and then Elway crossed up the pass-conscious Chargers with a draw to running back Sammy Winder. With 9 seconds left on the clock, Rich Carlos got another chance, and this time he did not fail. For the second week in a row, the Chargers found themselves in an overtime game with a division rival. Last week, San Diego won the overtime toss and proceeded to march briskly for a winning touchdown against the Raiders. This time against Denver, the Chargers also won the coin flip and elected to receive. And from the look of things, San Diego appeared intent on ending this game exactly the way they'd done it in their overtime win over the Raiders. Lionel James picked up key yardage, and Dan Fouts hit on timely completions to put the Chargers deep into Bronco territory. But now the scenario changed. When San Diego tried for a winning touchdown pass, cornerback Louis Wright turned the attempt aside. But Wright was just warming up. His legend continued to grow when on 4th down, the Chargers went for a game-winning field goal. The attempt was blocked, and Louis appeared to be off to the races with the loose ball. Unfortunately for Denver, Wright was stopped in his tracks. Someone on the Broncos had called a timeout, so the block did not count. After the dust settled, the Chargers tried it again. And incredibly, Denver's Dennis Smith barged in for a repeat performance, setting up a game-winning romp for Louis Wright. The 60-yard run back was one of the greatest plays in Wright's illustrious 11-year career. Denver had a 30-24 overtime victory without even running a play. In a contest where the kicking game was so important, it was fitting that the affair ended with the biggest special teams play of all. But this is becoming a regular occurrence with games in Denver. Mile High Stadium is now the NFL mecca for weird plays and wild occurrences. But the Broncos and their fans love them. After all, such events made them division champions in '84 And right now, Denver is still alone at the top in the rugged AFC West.